Hey guys, welcome to my channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Drew, and on this channel we share actionable steps to help you build, grow, and scale your business both online and offline. The topic of this conversation today is going to be perfectionism. And to just get this out of the way up front, I'm definitely not approaching the subject from a medical or a psychological perspective because true perfectionism can be a big problem, make you miserable, and you'll never be able to achieve any kind of success in life. That's not what we're talking about here. This is strictly a business channel, and I want to help you guys achieve a lot in life. So we're going to call the subject of this discussion selective perfectionism. Basically what we're talking about here is a business owner is going to see things from a different perspective than your typical hourly employee, right? Oftentimes in the case of a business owner, they've got the majority of their life savings wrapped up in their new business. They're pouring tons of time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears, as they say, working long days, all hours of the night, including weekends, to try to make this business successful because it's everything to them. So it's easy to understand how a business owner could get a little bit out of control and might even become a bit of a perfectionist, right? But is this really all that bad? Well, we're going to analyze the subject of perfectionism from different points of view. Is being a perfectionist a good thing or a bad thing? Perfectionism is usually thought to be a good thing, but I think you guys probably already know where I'm going with this, right? But first of all, we're going to talk about the positives associated with perfectionism. So if you're going out and you're selling a product or a service, either physically, door to door, or you're selling it online, and you can put a guarantee of satisfaction, unconditional money back guarantee on that product, or you can tell the customer face to face, we do very high quality work. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. In fact, I'm a perfectionist and you can trust me with your project. That's a pretty strong sales point, is it not? So what customer wouldn't like to hear that? What customer wouldn't like to hear that their satisfaction is guaranteed? You're basically telling them, we guarantee you perfection, right? Sounds like a positive thing, and it is. But that's pretty much where it stops right there. Everybody would like perfection if that was an option that were presented to them. So it's an attractive word to use. However, when it comes time to deliver on that promise, either by manufacturing, selling, and distributing the product, or going to the job and performing the work in the case of a service-based business, well, reality sets in at that point. Reasonableness must prevail. Now, you can't oversell your product or your service, otherwise the fault is entirely your own. But if they're paying a fair price for a certain product or service, and then we deliver on that and we provide that product to them, and we've done a good job and we've given them exactly what they want, even maybe a little more than what they want, then we have a satisfied customer on our hands. Because at this point, they're not working off a vague concept of perfection in their mind. They've got the physical, tangible product or service in front of them to evaluate. Now, why does that product or service not necessarily need to be perfect? Unless you happen to be a Michelangelo, a Leonardo da Vinci, or one of those other famous guys who is truly producing a product that has no rival. There is no one else out there that can produce the same product that you can produce. Well, if that's the case, then no one else can produce it. You can really charge about anything you want. And you better be charging a lot of money for that product or that service, right? And then in turn, because the customer is paying so much, they're probably going to expect perfection. They're going to expect your absolute best every single time. But in the vast majority of cases, there is competition that exists for whatever product or service that we are providing. And when the customer accepts our product over another competitor's product, they're saying, I trust that your product is going to be better than theirs. Not necessarily perfect, just the best option available to them at a certain price. And that's the key. We've set the price up front for the product or the service. And then on the back end, when we go to fulfill their expectations, those expectations are going to be based on the price at which we've priced our product or service. So if we sell the product or service here, and then we come to deliver, and we deliver this way up here, Well, the customer's not expecting that. That's really a different product, isn't it? If you went in to purchase a Toyota and you had to come back a couple days later to pick up your new car and they gave you the keys to a BMW instead, you'd say, what's the catch? I mean, who wouldn't want a BMW? Well, I'd like a BMW with only having to pay the price of a Toyota. That's obvious, but it's not reasonable, right? So we have certain expectations based on the price that we're paying for the service. Therefore, all you really have to do in business is exceed the customer's expectations. So let's continue to evaluate this concept of perfectionism from 3 different perspectives. Number 1, from the perspective of the customer. Perfectionism can be a problem on their part. Now, we will encounter the occasional perfectionist customer, and it depends on which line of business you're in. If you have the opportunity to decline certain customers, if you're in a service-oriented business and you service only a few limited number of customers and you start to detect signals up front that this person is a perfectionist, you might want to run. That's my best recommendation, because like we talked about at the beginning of this video, if they truly do have a psychological predisposition towards being a perfectionist, most likely they're dissatisfied with every aspect of their life, and there's literally nothing you can do to satisfy that person. Occasionally, that person will sneak up on us. Maybe we sell a product online, we never see our customers face to face. Well, there's going to be the occasional customer that gets a hold of our product and is completely dissatisfied, leaves us a negative review. Fortunately, if you're doing what you should be doing, those instances are going to be very few and very far between. And all the rest of your customers that are reading your online reviews, they're going to know that too, because who among us hasn't encountered the occasional perfectionist in our life? We know some people are just bitter, some people just had a bad day, some people are perfectionists. Whatever the case may be, you can't please everybody every time. But if you are legitimately trying to exceed expectations, you should please probably 90% of people 100% of the time, or 100% of people 90% of the time. But whatever that means, it's going to translate to very positive reviews, very positive customer feedback, and that's about the best you can do. That's the best you can hope for. That's going to keep your business growing in a healthy way. Now let's consider perfectionism from the point of view of the employee. They could be employees, they could be subcontractors, or services that we're purchasing, whatever the case may be. But now, if that person that we've hired to do the work is a perfectionist, this could also be a problem. Let's say you're running a cleaning company, maybe a mid-sized to larger company, and you have salesmen on your staff, and you send them out to look at a job for a potential new customer, and they look it over and say, okay, it should take us about 4 hours to clean this house. And now you as a business owner have established the rate for the service you provide at, let's say, $50 an hour. I don't run a cleaning business. I don't know if these numbers are accurate. But $50 an hour times 4 hours to clean that house, that's $200. The customer says, that's great. I've heard that you guys do excellent work. I'm happy to pay $200 to have my house cleaned every 2 weeks or whatever. Now, you have to fulfill on the back end. So you have employees that will go out and they will clean that house. And let's say your cost all in for their wage plus taxes, insurance, all your overhead, let's say that totals $30 an hour. So theoretically, you should be able to send that $30 an hour employee out to clean a house where you can charge $50 an hour, and that difference of $20 an hour is going to be your gross profit. Well, that's great, let's say, for this example. Now, what happens if you send out those workers or that one individual and they happen to be a perfectionist and they say, I am just not satisfied with the cleanliness of this house after 4 hours of work. And so they put in another couple of hours, and now you've got to pay that worker for 6 hours now at $30 an hour. And that's $180, right? So your gross on that was, instead of $80 an hour for 4 hours of work, now you had to tie up that resource for 6 hours in the day, and you only made $20. That's not sustainable long term. You'll probably go out of business if you can't get ahead of that problem, right? What's the problem here? Well, it could just be that the employee just isn't very good at their job. And if they legitimately spent 4 hours doing their best and it just wasn't good enough, maybe they need to spend an extra 2 hours, and maybe they're paid too highly, and that's the problem. But we're going to say for this example that they're very good at their job, and the customer should have been satisfied with the job after 4 hours, but the employee was a perfectionist and was personally unsatisfied, and so put in an extra 2 hours of unnecessary work. This could apply to different types of businesses too, not just service businesses. Let's say you are in an industry where you're selling a product, and then your direct costs associated with that product go up because whoever's working on the assembly line, or whatever the case may be, whoever's working in manufacturing that product for you is just taking too long, and they don't need to be taking so long. So you as a business owner have to stay on top of that. You have to have a very good idea of exactly how much time it should take to perform each individual function in your business. Therefore, it's a really good idea to have a little bit of experience doing every single task in your business. Then you're gonna have a pretty good idea if the person is just asking too much of themselves, if they're just not qualified to do the job, maybe they need some extra training, or maybe they just need fired because they're just not good at their job. Now, the third example is going to be perfectionism on the part of management structure, which in a small business, it could be you. You might be the problem, or maybe it's your managers that you've hired. But whatever the case may be, if management is putting unrealistically high expectations on the employees to perform at a level that's just not reasonable and really isn't even necessary, then it's just going to result in creating a stressful work environment. It's going to be difficult to retain good employees. You're going to have high employee turnover more than likely, constantly be retraining new employees. Generally, they're going to be dissatisfied with their job. No one's going to be happy. It's not going to be a pleasant place to work. And if you're honest with yourself too, if you're trying to get perfection out of your employees and they're just not capable of performing at this level, you're probably stressing out real bad, and you're probably not very satisfied with your quality of life either. So some serious introspective reflection might be in order. Do you really need to be demanding as much of your employees as you are? There are ways to measure these things. So what kind of feedback are you getting from your customers? If you're getting consistently positive A reviews, 5-star reviews online, you know you're doing something right. So it could be that the things that you're doing right are not even the things you think you're doing. Maybe it's the consistent attention to customer service that's creating satisfied customers. It's not even the fact that that product is literally a perfect physical product. There are many other ways to exceed customer expectations besides providing a perfect product every single time. So what's the takeaway from all this? Well, basically what you need to do is price your service or your product at a fair level, at a high enough level that you know there's enough money in that sale to cover all of your costs. There's enough money to hire and pay your workers to do a good job, and you're not expecting unreasonable performance from them for a very low amount of pay. And then at that point, you should be able to provide decent enough level of customer service, and you should be able to build in high quality components, materials into the product that you're selling in order to exceed your customers' expectations nearly every time. Now, as we mentioned at the outset, there's going to be the occasional customer who's a perfectionist, just can't be satisfied. However, if you are exceeding your customers' expectations every time, you're gonna have happy customers, your business is gonna continue to grow, and you're gonna sleep a whole lot better at night once you realize that that perfectionistic streak that you have in you is actually a negative. And if you can repress that a little bit, it's gonna be a positive thing for everybody. So if you found this information useful, click the subscribe button down below and hit that little bell too, and you can receive notifications when I upload a new video. And also comment below. Let me know your experience with perfectionism. Has it been a good thing for your business? Has it been something you've needed to overcome? And if so, have you seen positive results from having overcome it? I'd love to hear from you guys.